Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first inaugural Dawg Daze Open, presented by Chic-fil-A Starkville, held at the MSU Wise Course in Starkville. Here we are at hole 1. So this tee is actually different from the tee that we'll actually be using. The basket there to the left is hole 9's basket, and so they were concerned about some people maybe getting hit from maybe throwing from 9 and hitting the tee pad of 1. So we're actually teeing off closer to the right, as you'll see, which makes the right hand backhand a little bit harder. You've got to throw a wider hyzer, and it opens up the way for lefty backhands. So a little bit of give and take, but as you will see, there's a couple of options for people. So hole 1, par 3, 257 feet. Up first, we have Jeremy. Jeremy Vaughan, I believe his last name is pronounced. Throwing that wide right-hand backhand hyzer, getting around all that stuff there, and ending up in a great position.
Front of the sign marks it, huh?
Kyle Gray up next. Throwing a nice turnover shot at it.
Come on.
And almost getting the ace. So close. This is John Blount. I believe that's how his last name is pronounced. I'll be using mostly first names, so I won't be butchering anybody's last name too much. On the forehand, pretty high, and it does fade out too soon, ending up in those bushes. Here we have Sean Portilla, I think. Again, sorry if I'm butchering these last names. Going for the turnover shot just like Kyle. This one in a great spot too, with a nice anti-skip towards the basket. And a final card, Ensz. A very tall man. Going for the traditional wide hyzer. This one's sneaking a little bit too far to the left, getting too much play. Here we have John. A pretty sticky spot to land in. You see he's kind of lining up this flexed putt, and just doesn't give it the height. Corwin from, I think it is edge of circle 1, maybe just inside the circle. Oh, just a little bit too wide. We see Kyle walking over for some reason. I'm pretty sure he's not out. This is an uncalled for shot here. He does get the birdie. I'm amazed that nobody calls him on that. Clearly he's not the one that's out. Jeremy for his birdie. Cashing it in, using barely any chains. Tapping in his birdie. John with his par. Corwin for his par. A very unfortunate, unforced error. Just too high, too far to the left, and he does chain out. And he does card the bogey, which is this. He told me afterwards, this is the first time he's ever bogeyed that hole. Moving on to hole 2, par 3. I believe this is 177 feet. This is a huge shot if you're extremely tiny. Otherwise, it's just a very steeply left, dogleg left. You're looking for an overstable Firebird type flare skip. The local route is to just go over everything and hyzer spike into the basket. And here you see the pathway to the next hole. So, pretty fast green. It is dry and dusty, so you do see a lot of flare skips. If you're going for the fast shot, you got to be kind of careful with it. Otherwise, you may actually go deep. And the error on this hole that I see most often, and that I experienced when I practiced here, was just go too far straight. You really have to get a lot of hyzer on the disc. So here's the tee pad. I'm standing off to the side to get a good look at both the tee pad and the basket. Jeremy up first, going for this skip with a nice slow disc, and it curls up right next to the basket. Beautiful shot. Kyle Gray up next. I keep saying his last name. I'm too familiar with him. Trying to play that skip shot, he does end up going too far straight and gets caught up in that cedar tree there. This will be Sean. This is the local route, which I had never seen before, so I was not expecting it. He does end up getting caught in that cedar tree as well, and he'll have a very obstructed look. John playing the more contemporary hyzer, getting a great result. Corwin up next. You see I'm adjusting for the super high shot. You can see that. I don't think I'm still able to catch this very easily. But ends up in a pretty decent spot, all things considered.
Light lavender zone. Someone took my disc up.
Yeah. See Kyle from middle circle 2. A little bit of a step jump. And he catches in the birdie.
Well, there's only 5 of them.
Absolutely
there's 4 discs
amazing
here.
shot.
One of them isn't mine, so it's you.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm telling you.
This was gorgeous.
I understand. I thought yours was early too. When you get a gift, it's accepted. We'll definitely.
Here you see Sean getting to his line.
I'm probably left. I think I'm left.
Really tough spot. I ended up in my practice. I ended up in there, and you got nothing. So this is a really horrible spot. We'll see what he can come up with, though. Managing to get out, which is incredible with how thick it is in there. Here we see Corwin ended up in a great spot with that.
Yeah,
Cashing in his birdie.
Darkness.
Trying to make a putt, I just gotta go through about 4 things of ribbon.
Yeah, that's not easy.
Here we see Jeremy for birdie. Cashing in. You can see on the pole of the basket they've got that glow tape for night round. I thought that was really cool. They've got them on almost all the baskets, I think. John for his birdie. Cashing it in. Sean for his par. I think that was for John's birdie. Could be wrong. There you see a big smile for Sean. On to hole 3. Another par 3. I think this is a 280-foot shot. We'll see on the graphic in just a moment, but this one's a pretty tricky shot. This is either a turnover right-hand backhand, or you go for the forehand. If you do go for the forehand, you want to not go super far straight, because the left here, our left, into those woods is super thick. What you'd ideally like to be is in the right woods, because there's a little back door, there's a little alley back there, just through those bushes. So we'll maybe see a couple of players back there. It's a nice wide open shot. So if you're not in the green, you want to be to the right. A little helper there. Here we've got Jeremy lining up the forehand. And this is perfect. He just absolutely laced that right into the green. Kyle. And here's the mistake to make. If you do end up not in the green, you want to be in that little woods area there. We see Sean on the backhand turnover shot. Doesn't turn it quite enough, and he does end up in that horrible dense left woods. Corwin also lining up the backhand. And turning it a little bit too much, but again, that's where you want to be. We see John. Again, where you want to be. So he'll be circle one, enter circle one there. Sean in jail, has to go over everything. Great bid at it. Does hit the basket. And here you see they all filtered amazingly towards the basket. John kind of stuck in this bush, has to do a forehand. Unfortunately, hit chains, but not the basket. Wow, cashed in his birdie. Very happy about it. Corwin straddling out, trying to get away from that tree. Oh, unfortunately another chain out. This time, for some reason, it's on the right side. Very rudely, he doesn't let me get situated to see him tap out. But here we'll watch Jeremy with his amazing drive. Absolutely beautiful. And amazingly, he didn't skip too far with how fast these greens are.
Yeah.
He does get rewarded with the birdie. We see John for par. And here we see Sean for his par save. I wouldn't really call that a par save. That was a tap in. Here we are, hole 4, par 3. I believe this is 320 feet? We'll see on the graphic. I don't need to remember these things. So this is another good forehand hole, or lefty backhand hole. You want to try and get a low shot through here, because these trees are very thick, and if you get anything high and caught up in those trees, it'll just drop it straight down. There is a backhand route, or right-hand backhand route, but again, it's really low, and you're playing into that ditch a bit, so most players will probably find the forehand to be the more favorable option here, but we'll see. Now you see how low these trees are. You can barely walk underneath them without hitting your head. And the green is fast, but this grass is super thick. Once the disc hits it, it likes to stick. I'm 320, no, it's 236 feet. Jeremy up first. And this is super long. They absolutely smashed it down there. There is OB long on the road, but
We've all seen the man flag.
it'd be very difficult to get there. We've got Kyle Gray. Dang it, I keep using his full name, but nobody else's, because I'm not familiar enough with them and confident enough in their names. See, this is the line, nice and low, just underneath everything.
Good shot.
Gets a little bit of an unfavorable roll on these fast greens.
Oh god, oh god.
Corwin up next. This is absolutely beautiful. And if this grass was dry and freshly mowed, that would have skipped nicely, but unfortunately it does stick. Sean showing us the backhand line.
There. Good
Absolutely gorgeous.
shot. That's definitely there.
That's perfect. We got John.
That's good. Forehand home. He's like, get in.
This was
Oh.
so close.
He's like, stop.
With an unfortunate roll even further down than Kyle. We've got Corwin outside the circle. Just a bit too overstable. Here we see Jeremy from deep. Over the top. Good bit, just too high. almost ace. Unfortunate chain out. Just getting caught on the basket and flipping out. Jeremy for par. Very unfortunate chain out. Sean for his birdie. All day, every day. Kyle for his birdie. No doubt. All confidence. Forward par. Jeremy, courtesy violation right there.
We all saw it.
Getting his par, Jeremy as well. Or no, that was a bogey for Jeremy, that's right. Hole 5, par 3. This is also, I believe, 260 feet. Again, the graphic knows more than me, so don't trust me for anything. This is almost the same shot as hole 1, just a nice wide hyzer. Probably want to get around the tree there that's to the right, but aside from that, nothing too complicated. You could probably get there with a forehand, or if you're feeling really risky, go straight at it. As we see Kyle doing. Great line, just a little too far inside, I would say. If you threw that a little, threw that a little bit wider, then a little bit nicer, but no harm there. Sean up next. This is even more inside than Kyle's. Ends up edge of circle 1 there. Maybe just inside the circle. We got Corwin. Throwing very hyzer, but nice and low. Giving it a nice run. And ended up in a great spot. I believe he's like 11 feet behind the basket. We've got John with the snazzy shirt. This is a beautiful line. Absolutely great. And just parks it at the basket. I believe that is the PDGA sanctioned park, which is, I believe, within 11 feet. I could be wrong. Been wrong before. Jeremy throwing the huge hyzer.
Oh my.
Fortunately, getting
That
this
was
nasty
legitimate
roll.
ace run. Brutal.
Yeah, like they're talking about, that was a legitimate ace run, but just a horrible reaction. Well outside circle 1, maybe edge of circle 2. Giving a great bit at it. Here we see Sean. This looks like edge of circle 1 to me. barely using the chains. Getting the birdie. Kyle for birdie as well. Cashing that in. Jeremy for par. Almost getting that. Corwin for birdie. And John. Very good. Absolutely amazing drives, not drives. Hole 6, par 3. This is 337 feet. This is a very, very difficult hole. You can see how tight and low this fairway is, and there's a mando to the left of this tree here to the right. So you can't just throw this huge hyzer around everything, and there's no way you can get over everything. The play is honestly right hand forehand is the ideal play. It's a long way down. You've got this hill to contend with, so you really have to throw something like 350 feet or so. You gotta have that kind of power. And then it's on this hill. So even if you are 15, 20 feet away, you're still going to consider laying up because you don't want to deal with that rollaway. Here we have Kyle up first with the 4 in the row, five in a row birdies. Getting a little bit short, threw it a little bit too low. Here we see Sean lining up the roller. And this was amazing. This was so good. This is like 30, 35 feet away from the basket. Best drive so far. Corwin, I didn't see where this one landed. It landed right next to Kyle's though. It's so hard to see past that pampas grass. Sweet John. Absolutely smashing this one down here. Beautiful shot. And Jeremy. This was amazing. He threw this like a foot off the ground the whole way and ended up in a great spot.
Back before it was pretty
Before
cool.
they were
Yeah.
cool.
You see Kyle. That's Corwin's disc just ahead of him. Bringing out his pig. Giving a nice run to this.
That's the neat thing is I can't say
4 feet away from the basket here. Corwin. This is a kind of dangerous play because it is downhill,
Close-ish.
and from that spiking angle it could catch the edge and roll. Here we see Sean from maybe 40 feet away. A nice safe bit, catching right by that stump, so he'll have a nice easy 10-foot par. Jeremy for birdie from just outside circle one, I think. Giving a good bid to this. John from just outside circle one, I think. I don't know. Just a little too low. Probably got in his head to worry about the hill and roll away. Here we see Corwin from his approach. Nice easy par. Sean up next to tap in his par. I wonder how many birdies we had on this hole, because this was just a huge distance shot that you needed. Almost 300 feet of forehand distance, which Jeremy absolutely had. See, hopefully a par frame here. I don't know, we all know Kyle, he can miss these kinds of things. And John with his very disappointing par, having such a great shot and missing it by that is just, oh, it's heartbreaking. Hole 7, par 3, 270 feet? I don't know. Again, I'm just kind of guessing. I don't remember. I did all the graphics like an hour ago, so I can't be expected to remember that far back. We've got a pretty wide open tee until you get to these trees, and then there are 2 gaps to hit to even get to the basket, which is just a dead straight shot. But it's really tough because you have to get the 2 8-foot wide gaps that are like 150 feet down the fairway. Kyle up first. And there's the other play, to just take it wide with a forehand and hope for the best, I guess. He ends up in a kind of tough position behind all those trees. Sean showing us how it's done with the backhand turnover. lacing this one beautifully, right up to the basket. Absolutely textbook. Corwin opting for the forehand. Going much straighter at it than Kyle. And ending up in a good spot too. He also ends up there on the green. There is an OB creek in between the trees, or just past the second line of trees here that you don't want to get. John ends a little bit short of that, so that's the scary part of this hole. It's not super long, but it does have OB. We have Jeremy also opting for the backhand. He ends up further to the left than he would like. John, for some reason, throwing out of sequence and not getting called on it. Unfortunately, missing the basket for birdie, but a pretty safe par. Jeremy with it somehow ending up wide. I think he kicked a tree. He ends his approach next to the basket as well. I think Kyle's got a little bit of a gap between these trees. I wasn't able to go look. Giving a nice run to it. Ending up a little bit short, and it does end up rolling a bit. So John tapping in his par.
No pressure.
Yeah.
I thought it was corn. That's the reason I was waiting.
Sean tapping in his well-deserved birdie. Very well earned. Corwin for his birdie. Very well rewarded shot.
Sweet sound.
And then we just have Jeremy and Kyle to tap in their pars. And then we move on to hole 8.
That's the Pure Series out of
Here we are, hole 8, par 3. 288 feet. I just looked on the sign there. This is another pretty tight shot when you get closer to the basket. The fairway is nice and open until you get about 150 feet down, and then it really narrows. You've got this light pole to the left here. You've got this big tree to the right. Then you have this huge and dense magnolia tree to the left here. You've got these crepe myrtles to the right. So you've really got to get some line drive nice and low through here to this hanging basket. It's not hanging in a mean way, thankfully. It won't just like swing about in the breeze on this live oak tree, I believe this is. You see it's there chained to the ground as well. So it's not just going to hang around and jingle jangle. Sean up first. And this is pretty decently uphill, so you probably need to throw something about 300 feet. And he does filter left into that big magnolia tree. Corwin. Throwing a wide hyzer around everything.
Nope. Oh, it did.
And ending up in that magnolia tree as well. Kyle trying to throw straight up the gut. Gets this turned a bit too much and gets caught in these crepe myrtles. And he gets stuck behind one. John with the forehand. Right up the middle. Flexing too much and also getting into this magnolia tree. Let's see what Jeremy does. This huge turnover shot. Absolutely amazing. Ends up right in the green. Here we see Kyle just trapped behind these trees, has to throw this soft turnover approach.
They're still on the green.
Here's Sean in the middle of this magnolia tree. I don't know if you can tell, but you can't even see the basket from in there. But he gets an amazing out. Ends up pin high for a par. John got pretty lucky with his drive being just on the edge of the tree there. Jeremy for birdie. All day, every day.
Good too.
Beautiful drive. You see Corwin sacrificing the body for the disc golf. Fortunately, 2 par left.
All that work for nothing?
Man, that's one stretch too.
I'll take some roasting.
So,
Wanted that putt so bad.
birdie, par, par, birdie, par, 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 bogey. The rest of the gang just cleaning up their pars. All of course, with the unfortunate bogey. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was a par. I'm just crazy. Don't worry about me. Hole 9. The final hole and one of the most difficult, because again, a reoccurring theme with the front 9 here is these these open fairways that tighten and then open again and then tighten again. So you've got to go through this gap of magnolia trees, and then you've got to get past these magnolia trees. Then you have this OB ditch here, and then you have this green with OB all around it with the road. So if you somehow manage to throw 400 feet and go past the basket, you will be OB with a very difficult shot. Here we see Jeremy up first. There is a Mando to the right of that magnolia tree, so you do have to go through the gap. You cannot throw a wide hyzer over the parking lot. He ended up in a pretty decent spot, short of the ditch, I believe. Here we see Sean. The backhand turnover. Ending up in a fantastic spot. Right next to the basket. Absolutely beautiful. Kyle with, I believe, a pig. And this ended up getting caught up a little bit in the magnolia tree, and it does end up pretty short, but he will have an approach. Corwin going really high. Getting caught in the magnolia tree there, unfortunately. John throwing this huge forehand. As you see it spiking down on the green. Absolutely amazing. Here we see Kyle. Pretty short. Also, his shot didn't land very far. But with a really... Oh, he overthrew the basket by quite a bit. So he's got a 25-footer for his par. Jeremy for his approach. Unfortunate roll, but he did not go OB. He just landed a bit further than he'd like. Corwin is in the magnolia tree. We cannot see him, but there we see his shot. I thought he landed next to the basket. Nope, he overthrew it and almost ended up OB. Unfortunately missing his birdie putt, but he will have a tap-in par. Kyle from edge of circle, getting his par. Cleaning it up. Jeremy for par. All day. That's not a tester for him. We see John for his birdie. Finally getting rewarded for a good shot.
Let's face it, it's an eagle.
Yeah.
Sean cleaning up the par.
I won't give him the full
And
eagle,
then
but you know.
a green disc right
That's what
over
I
there,
said. I was like,
which I thought was like a water fixture cover. And until we were walking away, I'm like, oh crap, that's a disc. I gotta go back and film that. Cleaning up his par. So great front 9 from our card. Kyle with 5 under, leading the field by at least one shot. I hope you all follow us to the back 9.